what about you? Very welcome. It is Sunday, the 14th of July, 2024. And instead of the usual WOTW, I thought we'd do something slightly different because we have just had, a couple of days ago, the commemoration or celebration of the 12th of July. And for those who are outside Northern Ireland, that commemorates the famous Battle of the Boyne, where King James defeated King William. Only messing. I couldn't resist that. Only messing. No, King William defeated King James, and that was the start of a whole lot of things. So every 12th of July from that date on, it has been celebrated by the Protestant, Unionist, and Loyalist community. Further after this, known as the PUL community. And so I thought I'd just do, not a piss take. I don't want to do a piss take because it's too easy to do a piss take. I thought I'd do something, just have a wee thought about it. Have a moment and think about it. And I've themed my background for it. I've got the orange lights. I've got my wee orange man up there. I've got my orange mug. I've got my red handy Ulster saying peace. So I've made a wee bit of an effort here, people. I have made a wee bit of an effort to set the scene. Because the argument goes is the PUL community call this their culture. And a lot of other people say it's not culture. It's not culture. It doesn't rise up high enough to be culture. So I thought, you know what, I'll look in a dictionary. And young people, this is what dictionaries used to look like. This is what we had for dictionaries. Big books. And I love dictionaries. They're full of words and ideas and amazing things. And I still prefer a dictionary to all your internet stuff. So I've got two definitions here. There's many definitions of culture. Now, the first definition says culture is fineness of feelings, thoughts, tastes, or manners, refinement. Example, he is a man of culture who appreciates the great art and fine sculpture of the world. That's one. Now, the second one says, and this is the one I prefer, it says culture, the gradual development of a culture through successive stages, usually of increasing complexity, as from savagery to barbarism and from barbarism to civilization. Now, do you know what? I think that the 12th could qualify and should qualify as a legitimate form of culture, a legitimate form of cultural expression. The issue seems to be that there has been a bit of an aberration. There has been a bit of a segue taken. That rather than that evolution from one to the next, the evolution has branched off slightly, especially with regard to bonfires. Bonfires have become the bane of all our lives. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have bonfires, but you don't really need a bonfire to be the biggest in the world. That's all I'm saying. And that's what's happening now every year. Every year, Craigie Hill and Larne particularly, again, this year, built a mammoth construction, reaching well over 200 feet into the sky, once again challenging to be the biggest bonfire in the world. Last year, a representative of the Guinness World Records didn't even bother turning up to do a measurement. And now if Guinness World Records need proof of just how big this thing was, let me tell you, a guy parachuted off it this year. There was a guy base jumped off the top of that bonfire. This bonfire's getting so high, NASA is going to have to divert the space shuttle to get round it. You're going to have aircraft coming into land in Northern Ireland with the air control going, Tango 24, Tango 24, Tango 24. Divert by 4 degrees. You're coming towards Larne now. Divert by 4 degrees or you're going to hit that bonfire. It's big. Do you understand? It's big. It's so big that the bonfire builders are going to end up needing oxygen just to get to the top of the thing. Now, there's a lot of debate as to what went into the making of this bonfire, right? The number of pallets, because it's built by pallets now. In my day, you just got out wood and made a bonfire. Now it's pallets. And this year, the estimation of how many pallets were used ranges wildly from 8,000 to 17,000, with similar ranges of cost from £20,000 to £130,000. The builders of the bonfire, well, they say it cost $20,000, with the money coming via donations from the local community and businesses. Nay. considering we're living in a cost of living crisis with some of that very community needing to access food banks, I would argue that maybe a portion of that 20,000 would have been better used feeding the people than literally going up in smoke. Indeed, I'd make a fair estimation that if the cost of the construction of that bonfire was left solely to the people building it, it'd be more likely to be 20 feet than 200 feet. But leaving aside the cost, leaving aside the size, right, there are safety issues. And there was a case on the Shankill Road where an OAP, an old age pensioner's home, was burnt to the ground due to a bonfire. I actually covered it. I covered it in my end of year show that year. The inevitable happened. 2016. They burnt down a wee woman's house in the Shankill. Burnt it to the fucking ground. What done my scorn is the wee woman was interviewed. Wee old woman, she was interviewed. She was so magnanimous. The children were only having fun. The children were only having their wee bonfire, which they only do once a year. They burnt your fucking house down, you lunatic! This had to be the first time in her life she'd go, you wee bastard, yes, I'll fucking kill you. What were you going to do? Well, burn your house down? You already have, you fucking wee shit. But even that aside, we're back to the argument about culture. Can this, the 12th bonfires, be called an expression of culture? I think it can. I think they can. I have no problem of 12th of July bonfires. But instead of burning thousands of pounds worth of pallets, you could still have a bonfire, but a sensible one, with the excess monies spent creating a community festival of arts and real culture, not unlike the Fela on Fobble in West Belfast, because Fela evolved out of the bonfire tradition, commemorating internment every 9th of August. During that time, and they had the same problem, street disturbances and the destruction of the local districts, and it led to the ordinary people demanding the end of bonfires. And from the embers of those old bonfires arose the largest community festival in the whole of Europe. I have no doubt the same transformation could happen around the 12th. All that's needed is for the affected communities to face down the man boys who spend their lives building towers of wood, which leave no mark apart from toxic smoke, which sends half the asthmatics in the community to the hospital, scars the earth, and leaves buckets of nails. Indeed, there could be instead street parties for children and educational lectures on the many PUL heroes and cultural icons, which few in that community know anything about. I'm talking about cultural giants. One of my favourites, Jocelyn Bell Burnell, the astrophysicist who discovered the first radio pulsar and is one of the most revered living physicists. Where would you start in literature? There's just too many. The poets, the writers. Just picking one out would be C.S. Lewis, the scholar who created Narnia. These and so many more are PUL culture, for they contributed not only to local culture but also world culture. But let me tell you, I understand the attraction of a good old bonfire. For as a boy, I was a bonny builder. Yeah, as children, we spent most of our summer months collecting wood from derelict houses. But eventually, the summer came when I turned from a boy to a man and stopped building bonfires and began building a life and hopefully made some small contribution to our common culture through comedy. For remember this, people, a culture which doesn't continually evolve, but instead ossifies and stagnates, is a dying culture.
No, I didn't mean that. Like, no, I didn't mean that. Like, no, that, no, you're picking us up all wrong here, Paul.